Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Nice Cactus, and GGBet.
Welcome back to DreamHack Open Seville, where before the break we saw Crazy kicking off the action with a win over Movie Star Riders. But now it is time to get into Group B as we see GODSENT taking on Illuminar to battle for their spot in today's finals. It's a big moment for these teams. Obviously GODSENT coming in with a new roster, Illuminar coming in as well into this. We've kind of been talking a little bit about these two teams. We know a bit more about GODSENT. Illuminar is sort of an unknown quantity coming into this game.
Yeah, they are. They're one of the, one of the mixes, so to speak. I think they have a couple of players from the old XCOM lineup. They were called Aristocracy last year as well. So comparatively a little bit of an unknown team compared to GODSENT. But then you have a couple of pretty well-known names. Like you have Riyadh, you have Innocent. These guys have been playing around the Polish scene for a while. They haven't really been able to do much though, and compared against GODSENT, who have looked so good so far. I think it was in winter where they were able to have a pretty good run as well. They lost in the end to Forza, who did manage to win the event overall, so it's going to be hard for the Polish guys here.
It is, but I think Illuminar have some skill up their sleeve. They did, as you mentioned, Innocent and Riyadh. These two are very mechanically strong players, and I think this Illuminar lineup is very interesting. They've combined a Go, they've combined XCOM, they've combined these tier 2 players and talents in Poland, and they're just trying to bring Poland back on the map, I think, trying to make them relevant again in CSGO.
Make Polish CS great again.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. I mean, do you think they kind of have the ability to be doing that? You're saying we've sort of seen some of these names in other rosters, but coming together, what are you kind of making of these guys?
I haven't really seen them play that much. Again, I mean, we only have the information that we've been given, right? And looking at DreamHack, I think, sorry, it wasn't winter, it was Atlanta, where they didn't really have a great run. They lost to teams like, I mean, to Heroic, who have been looking so good so far. They lost to Sprout as well in the best of 3 series. Sprout aren't exactly a tier 1 team, let's be honest here, and but it was a while back. They might have improved so far, but I've only seen them play in some of the local Polish lands where they have looked pretty dominant, right? So for them, this event means a lot. Like if they're able to get a top 4 placing, maybe even reach the finals, I think that's a big win for these guys.
I gotta disagree with you. I thought in Atlanta they had a great showing. Although
really?
The stats don't show it, the map win-loss ratio doesn't show it, but each match and each map that these guys were faced up against. And I mean, if we think about it, in Atlanta, we had some strong teams there, Heroic, Sprout, a lot of European teams that were expected to get that first place in Atlanta. And these guys showed up, they had like 16, 13, 14, 16.
It was a very close series with Heroic. Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, going to all 3 maps. So they were, I think, a bit of a surprise for a lot of us on the desk in Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to be taking a look at which map we will be playing on for this best of 1. Blair, you seem to have an inkling of where this veto would be going. What are you expecting from this?
I'm thinking Nuke coming out here. I believe it's going to be Nuke, and mainly because GODSENT's going to ban out Mirage, and Dust2 is going to be banned out by Illuminar, and I think that works out for Illuminar because they don't... GODSENT is a team who are very comfortable in Dust2 if you look at the players they have, so there we go, Dust2 and Mirage will be the first 2 bans. Then, if I'm GODSENT, I ban out Vertigo and Train, and if I'm Illuminar, I take out Inferno and Overpass, leaving Nuke, a map that both these teams are pretty comfortable on. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Overpass... Oh, never mind, they banned it out. It is Nuke. I'm right, I'm a god. Never mind.
We don't even need a map veto. We just need Blair up here. He's just going to
I'm not even cheating. Like, but yeah, Nuke, I think it's interesting. I think it's a map that both the teams are very comfortable on. But if I'm Illuminar, and look at GODSENT, it's a mixture of different nationalities. It's a comparatively a more free-flowing team compared to Illuminar. I'm going to be feeling very comfortable from the polls here. And like you mentioned, Potter, they have put up a pretty decent fight against the teams in Atlanta. They haven't really played that much like higher tier lands in the recent past, while GODSENT have, obviously. But if I'm Illuminar, if I'm a team who's relying more on structure and, and bear in mind, like mixed teams in general, I'm not a big fan, apart from like a couple of teams out there like Mousesports perhaps. But you're a mixed team playing on a map like Nuke against a team who are very comfortable on this map. I'm actually going to be feeling very comfortable if I'm the Poles here.
Definitely so. I mean, GODSENT, they also got knocked out in the semifinals in Atlanta versus Fours.
Who won the event?
Yeah, it was the winners in Fours. They were having a really strong showing, but Nuke is one of those maps that it's just so challenging right now on the CT side, especially with all the different variations that teams are bringing up to the board. And we just saw Movie Star Riders kind of struggling on their CT side as well on Inferno. Both of these maps in Inferno and Nuke very heavily CT-sided maps. And so if you don't have a strong start, if you don't have the basics down, that a game plan going in, it's going to be even more challenging.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, picking up on GODSENT now, we can see them on screen getting ready for their first match of this tournament. But obviously you picked up on there that they were in the semi-final at DreamHack Winter. They lost out to Force, but they have had some pretty decent showings. They won WePlay Season 2, and they've only been a team together since the end of September, and it's the first time it's been a sort of international roster. GODSENT have obviously historically been Swedish, and there are some big names. Obviously Stico up there, he's been a staple for the likes of Mousesports, Cloud9 being a substitute for them. There's a lot of firepower coming into the squad, isn't there?
There is, right? And you have, of course, Michael Lele as well. I mean, we know what he can do. We have Crystal all the way from Germany. We have Zen from Finland, who hasn't really been spoken about much. And Martin is one of the more lesser-known players, I feel like, in his lineup. And let's not forget, they got Devilwalk, major champion, standing behind them as a coach as well. They've looked good, like you mentioned, Freya. They won WePlay the Forge of Masters tournament. They beat Tricked, who are here in this tournament, 2-0, very convincingly in the finals. They beat Gambit Youngsters convincingly. They beat Forza as well in the best of one in that tournament. So they've looked really good. They've beaten teams who have won DreamHack Opens in a recent past. So they're a team who definitely are on the rise in a very short span of time.
They certainly have. They've had like a oomph in their honeymoon period to kind of really push them over the edge here and make them be so successful. I am interested to see the progress of this team, though. In Atlanta, we saw some quiet sides coming out of some players. Michael Lely, he's very known, especially online. He's a player that's very impactful, puts the numbers on the board every single time. But on LAN, he was a little bit more quiet. Now, these GODSENT guys, in their interviews, they spoke about how these guys feel like they're a LAN team. They're not very successful on the online side of things, but when they make it to this LAN environment, when they make it on that stage, it's like extra gear, another gear coming in, their second win coming in, and they just perform a lot better on the stage.
Yeah, weirdly, I was speaking to Devilwalk. He was on my flight. We had to run from in Lisbon for our connection, literally run to the airport with Devilwalk, a sentence I never thought I would say. But he was kind of talking about, when I was chatting to him, that they've got their preparations really locked down. Their practice schedule is being 12 hours a day. They're starting at 11 a.m. in the morning. They've got a kind of nice, healthy schedule going on with these guys. And obviously, because they're a mixed team, they're based in a lot of different countries, so they're not on top of each other, being in like a team house as such. So I'm really excited to see what kind of strats they bring into this. Are you kind of expecting anything from them?
I think all these players have been players who've been kind of like in the wild, in the cold for quite a while. Look at Sticker, he was in basically no man's land for quite a while. Michael Lele was teamless for a bit as well. So for these guys getting picked up like an orb, like GODSENT, who have been a staple in the CSGO scene for such a long time, I think they've been just looking forward to this, right? And I think they've grabbed that opportunity with both hands, and they're just putting in the work, and it shows. The performances in the last two events, yes, they lost to Forza in the semifinals of DreamHack Winter, but that run to that was impressive. They won both their opening games. They were looking very convincing. They won WePlay as well. They have a very good record on LAN. Quick stat would be they played 11 maps so far on LAN in the past, like since they formed, and they won 9 out of them. They've lost 2 maps. That is impressive.
Yeah, they were undefeated at Atlanta all the way up until the semifinals. So these guys, yeah, they're literally undefeated as a unit, as a squad. So it's a very impressive record indeed.
Do you think that's going to be a tough challenge then for Illuminar to be coming up against?
It will. Like Potter did mention, you're talking about players like Devilwalk as a coach, you have Stico, you have even Crystal, and obviously you have Michael Lele as well. These guys have played some of the biggest stages in the world, especially Stico and Michael Lele. They played in like major games and very high pressure situations, and coming to a tournament like DreamHack Open, they're going to be feeling very comfortable, very at ease. While the boys from Illuminar, yeah, Innocent and Riaz, they've been around for a while, but the rest of the team, and even Innocent and Riaz, they haven't really had that experience that much. Yes, they've been playing for a while, but not against the best of competition. It's mostly these Polish local events, so it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talking about a bit more about Illuminar, you were kind of saying that they've had the experience at these Polish events, but coming onto a big stage like this, it is totally different. The pressure does kind of get to you, right?
It kind of does, but I mean, I'm looking at Innocent, and I feel like when I watch this guy in the server, I don't see any of that pressure. You know, when you're watching a player with their crosshair placement, their fluid movement within that server, you can kind of see a player that gets caught off guard every now and then, or surprised at, you know, they're not expecting the kind of contact that they get. But Innocent, you'll hardly ever see him surprised or caught off guard. He's always going to be the guy that's trying to set up the pace for himself. He's hunting and trying to find his opponents, and you can see how comfortable he is in that server. And I think he's absolutely going to have to show up and show that prowess in that server for this Illuminar side to be able to be competitive in this matchup.
So do you think he's going to be the player to watch from this Illuminar side player?
Yeah, he would be, right? He's the best rated player by far. He's got a 1.12 rating on land for this particular lineup. But the second player I want to just point out as well is Stomp with the AWP, right? He might not have, he's the second, I think the third highest rated player. Is not the best rating wise, but he's by far the best opener. Like, he gets the highest opening kill like rating, so to speak, for his team. And I think he's really been very crucial in his lineup. I think he's a pretty solid operator, not exactly star material yet, but as long as he does his role, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be Oscar-ish, right? He is the in-game leader. I like the name Oscar. He's like Oscar, but not really Oscar. Anyway, like, I think he would be very crucial. I think they're going to have to rely not on the firepower, but on really having a game plan. Like you mentioned, Potter, Nuke is a map where it is hard on the CD side. They can't just play stagnant and just default setups all the time. It's going to get abused time and time again. I want to see aggression on the CD side. I want them to really push in and make GODSENT feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is a best of one. We have to put that out there. There is room for that upset potential, even though it is on Nuke, right?
Exactly so, and I mean, I'm actually curious as well. The last time I watched GODSENT playing Nuke, it was Crystal that was opping mainly towards that outside yard over Michaelelli. And so I'm not sure if just in that match in particular, Michaelelli was like, oh, I'm not feeling it, you go ahead and take it. But we also saw Crystal opping on Dust too. So I'm curious to know who's going to be primary opping. I imagine it's going to be Michaelelli, but if he's having another one of his off games, is he going to pass it off to Crystal? Who's going to be playing on that outside yard?
I think that's a cool thing about this lineup. If you look at the players, like you mentioned, Crystal, you know, Michaelelli and Sticko, I mean, these are all players who can definitely play different roles in a team depending on which team they play against and also depending on which map. So yeah, a lot of variations possible in a setup, so to speak.
Well, I think it is time for our predictions. Potter, I'm going to start off with you. Who are you siding with for this match?
I'm going to go with GODSENT. I think their honeymoon period is OP. They've shown us that their prep work and everything else in between has been solid. I am crossing my fingers for Illuminar, though, because I really do think in Atlanta they were just that close. They needed a little bit more of an oomph, and I'm hoping that they have that here today.
I'm going to go with GODSENT. I think it's really hard. I think I completely agree with Potter. I forgot about how close the score lines were in Atlanta, but I still believe GODSENT just they're still in the honeymoon period, right? And they look so damn good right now, so GODSENT for me. Yeah,
I think I'm going to be joining. The desk is going to be across the board GODSENT for this win, but I do agree with you. I think Illuminar have been showing sort of flecks of hope coming through, and I think especially in a best of one stage, right, it's the potential for them to kind of come in and upset GODSENT, especially when we're talking about some of these players on GODSENT too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the upset potential will always be there. It's DreamHack opens day ones, it usually happens. But if I'm GODSENT right now, I'm just want to... Like, you're talking about GODSENT, you're talking about Tricked, who are now Mad Lions, and of course the usual suspects in Crazy and North/Big. Every one of these teams want to make it to the semifinals directly. They don't want to play tomorrow. So if I'm GODSENT, I'm winning this 10 out of 10 times.
Well, interestingly, Twitch chat again seems to disagree with us. I think it was 77%.
Oh, I missed
We're going with Illuminar. Yeah, it was very, very heavily favoured to the underdogs. I mean, they want an underdog story, don't they? But I think it is time to check in with our casters, Gabby and Tom. How are you both doing after that first matchup?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the sort of highlight plays you get when you watch Crazy. So I'm hoping we'll get a few more on Nuke.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun here on Nuke. I think Twitch chat tries to maybe balance out the desks a little bit, saying, hey, let's throw some love to Illuminar. But we're excited to get here into our second map of the day.
Well, exactly. We are very excited to get into this one, so let's head it over to our casters.
Woot woot, it is time. Map number 2. I'm stoked. It's a whole day of Counter-Strike
I feel
here.
like woot woot could never come out of my mouth. It just doesn't.
Well, technically
I don't think
did.
I don't think it suits my personality.
Yeah, you have to do the hand with it. That's the thing. If you're actually playing within this map, though, you probably don't want to do that. Keep it on the mouse and keyboard.
I don't know. Maybe after the round ends, you can do it. Because if you're doing it during the round, that shows real confidence.
If you do that, then you have to face the enemy team.
Yeah, we need them to face each other, and then you can be like, whoa, and he's not even got his hands on the keyboard. Like, that is real confidence right there. But
as far as this matchup between GODSENT and Illuminar, we heard a lot from the desk. Chat seems to be going towards Illuminar, but who are you going towards?
I'm leaning in the way of GODSENT just because from what I've seen from them so far, like commentating them a few times, I've been really impressed with what I've seen, especially when you like put a lot of these players together, because it sounds harsh to say, but if you look at all the teams they've come from, they almost seem like the leftovers. Like, undeservedly in a lot of cases, I think Sticko's always been really underrated in the teams he's played in. But there are people like, for example, Crystal, who got kicked out of Imperial, which is the ex-team of Crazy. You had the likes of Makalele, who was in NIP. You look at Zen, who was previously in a Penta roster that was quite successful. It seems like they've just been maneuvering around and never really found a home. And now this team has come together and it looks really good. The only worry for me is like, a lot of the time you're seeing players that you never used to see perform to this level, perform to quite a high level. If that doesn't come across, then it's definitely possible for the Poles to play well. And more importantly, at the previous event casting, GODSENT, Makalele didn't have a good tournament. And he is sort of, he could be a really explosive AWPer, which gives them a bit more of an X factor. And if he's not playing well, they come up against some tougher opposition, that's where things can go a little bit wrong.
But looking at some of the young guard too, someone like Madden, who not as much information about him. He did have his first LAN not that long ago, but I think he's been pretty impressive, being able to hold up with the rest of the roster when a lot of times you want to kind of gravitate your eye towards the veterans each time, but you need to be able to foster this environment for the younger talent to thrive.
I think he's the explosive player. Like, he's the one that you'll see it a lot on Nuke, actually. Some of the stuff he does is insane, but the rest of the team is so well structured that they can get away with it. Like, for example, he will probably push Vent on T side every single round until they stop him, and even when they stop him, he may still continue to do it because it's just so annoying. And I can't remember who they played against, but there was actually a comment made where they were like, yeah, we didn't actually know how to counter him continuously doing it because no one else just does that. Like, they might try it once or twice, but he would just fight that Vent every time, or he will sneak his way out onto the A site, and it's just irritating. And that's the thing, like, when you have a player like that, he might not necessarily get the highest numbers every single game, but when he has a good game, you win. And even if he's just making space for everybody else, someone like Zen, who's been performing very well in this roster, is going to get more space. And that's not something that the opposition can allow. And I think that's something Illuminar need to know about this GODSENT side is, okay, how do we shut him down, get rid of that annoyance, make him useless almost by finding those early picks, then we can focus on removing someone like Zen, who's going to be more difficult, I would say, to deal with.
I forget who it was from the GODSENT roster that was doing an interview the last time we saw them at DreamHack and talking about how Madden has that kind of unpredictable level, a lot of good ideas on top of his ability to perform on the map. So the fact that they kind of give him some of that breath to go with the aggressive execution that he's been liking, that's a good team way to do it, right? You want to be able to facilitate the strengths of each of the members. So if you look over on the side of Illuminar, though, someone like Innocent can also be extremely unpredictable in the style that he brings.
Yeah, I think he's just been a top performer overall for this side, and I think they're going to need him to play well today. Either way, we are going to be getting right into Nuke and right into our pistol round. It is going to be a T-side start for GODSENT, and we've been stopped. I've been triggered.
Juked a little bit right there. Soon enough, we'll be getting into it. But looking at the choices then, so it's going to be T-side over for GODSENT on Nuke, where CT's going to have it a little bit more flexible and easier. How do you think that they're going to do?
Honestly, I think that's one of the things I've been most impressed about when it comes to this GODSENT roster is how good they are structure-wise. Like, they seem to have a lot of good ideas. Obviously, Crystal's been an in-game leader for a long time, but also they have players that have been in a lot of more supportive roles. So you're going to witness a lot of good like flashbang assists, good utility usage is something that's always there for GODSENT as well. And the other thing that I find most impressive is even playing against some like top teams on maps like Dust 2, for example. I think they played crazy and absolutely battered them because they were just able to force someone out with a grenade, then someone's there to kill them. Then if they get killed, the trade is instant. Like, Sticko's very good at finding trade kills. And I think just as a unit, they are a very good team. Like, as said, we speak about, if you look at a lot of the individual pieces of this roster, they were never the stars of the show in their previous teams. That's not really what we look towards. But together, they seem to have created something that's actually quite difficult to deal with, considering, as said, the individual pieces maybe not being like for example, an Esperanto, like who's just going to blow everyone out of the server.
It's allowed each of these players to kind of develop and evolve their identity too. Someone like Zen, really great with the support and using that utility, but there have been games within the past few months where he's really been able to pop off and show.
Killing it.
Yeah, because he does those roles. It's not because, oh, he's not good at fragging and needs to go into a different role. It's no, he's also good at being a supportive player, mentally speaking, for the rest of the team and allowing these plays to really get executed properly.
Well, I think the best example of that is always going to be Sticko, because you talk about mouse boards, and even when you used to watch them play, he would play alongside someone like Oscar, who is just ridiculous. So there would be plenty of rounds where I almost sort of compared him to Dobby. Like, he would literally give everything everything to Oscar and then just sacrifice, like, and he would be left with rags. Like that was a sort of joke, because he would literally go, oh, I have about $6,000. Okay, I will drop an AWP and then buy myself a Mac 10. Like that would be how that mentality works. Now in this team, he doesn't need to do that. He can definitely try and set up someone like Makalele, but he doesn't always do it, and it's nice to see him get the chance.
In the meantime, we are going to pop to a short break while we figure things out on this end, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to DreamHack Open. Soon enough, we'll be getting into our second map of the day. GODSENT and Illuminar taken to the stage for the first time, and it should be a good one indeed on Nuke.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good match. I think with the CT side start coming out from the poles, I think they have a good opportunity here to get off to that strong start. And I think it's more, I think GODSENT have more to prove, in a sense. Like, as Potter was saying, like, we've seen some good stuff from the Polish side, but ultimately GODSENT managing to win an event and getting to the semi-final and just losing out to Forza, it puts them in a situation where we now kind of expect more from them. Whereas Illuminar, I think, like, getting to the playoffs is a realistic expectation, like, it's possible, but at the same time, I'm not saying they're going, if they don't, they're in trouble. Whereas with GODSENT, I think that they need to start having consistent results of getting through. So pressure's on them. It's a best of one. Anything is possible, as we've sort of seen in the last matchup with USP victories and, Jesus, still that Mag 7 4K. I really don't know how that happened, but it makes things interesting. Of course, for Movie Star Riders, unfortunately, they weren't able to pull off that upset, and I think now it's going to be a lot tougher for them, especially because those loser matches, I don't really see like a particularly weak opponent that they could just easily breeze through, whereas the possibility of, say, for example, someone like North and Big, like one of them is going to be in that lower bracket, it gets quite scary for any of the teams falling down early.
But here we go. It is time. Pistol round underway. And as we said, GODSENT have taken to the T side this time, and Illuminar for the CTs. Things are starting to get hot and heavy here on the A site. Innocent's going to crack this map wide open. With a bit of a preoccupation over by Hut, the rotations to the opposite side and make it known. And GODSENT are falling slightly, but they've outnumbered Illuminar at this point in number of frags. Keep their eyes over on Vent just in case, and the plant goes down.
They've got so many strong positions as well. Sticko just lurking in the back lines and leaves Reitz alone in a 1 versus 4. A bit dicey at the beginning. I'm quite surprised it took them that long to kill off Innocent, and I think he might be a little bit disappointed in the sense that he firstly only gets 1 kill, but also his teammates don't really get into positions to sort of help him there. But again, it's that same sort of setup. We see the smoke fall in, the flashbangs over the top, and eventually GODSENT get the openers that they need. And as mentioned, Zen's definitely going to be one of those players to watch in this map. I think he plays pivotal roles on both sides. His CT side defense is very good as well, and a lot of the time gets quite aggressive. So definitely going to be a focal point for GODSENT, and he's already got 2 kills to his name.
Yeah, at least a couple frags picked up for the opposite side too, so it's not a complete wash for them going into this next round. Should be able to purchase a little something. And it did seem like there's a little bit of that cat and mouse kind of going on once the utility went down, and not exactly sure of how to execute those. But here we go in the second one. Going to be rotating over towards the yard and throw down the smokes, but not necessarily in the position yet to be crossing all the way over. They don't want to give their rotation away just yet. So Illuminar are waiting to see what information they can gather at this point.
Yeah, they've got the double scout, so actually this could be a decent read for them. An outer take will give the scouts some opportunities, whereas if we had just seen them go blasting into the A site once again, they probably would have been null and void. As said though, I think GODSENT very good with their utility. They're going to actually throw a bit of a varied smoke setup here with the ability to wrap round into the A site if they desire, but by the looks of it, they're still going to head down to Secret.
Yeah, much more forward than you would expect for typical utility if you're making that Secret play. And in the end, they are able to make their way through that entrance. So GODSENT on the move towards that B site. Illuminar have set up the scout. They had it over in ramp room too, and they can rotate if need be. Makalele moving up with the team, setting up over here in window to scout it all out, see if anybody is preoccupying that space. And the movement goes in here. Sticko gets the stick onto Innocent. Another CT is there to follow, so Reitz gets the answer. And now they can deliver that too. So Sticko taken off of that. That's going to be a nice way for Illuminar to try and better position themselves for this, to move in and entrench upon GODSENT, who have managed to plant the bomb onto the B site.
Yeah, I actually really like the take that came in from GODSENT there, just because of those deeper smokes. The CT side actually don't rotate any of their players down to B. So they get a free plant. They also have Sticko holding off rotations back, and also Crystal's able to get into the vents. So they basically secure themselves around just purely based on that. Although Reeds has managed to find a nice couple back, onto 3 kills already. The problem is the bomb's so far ticked, they need to kill them very quickly indeed, and I don't think it matters anyway. They're not going to have time to defuse the bomb. Oscarish, oh, he actually found a kid. It's going to be very close. He actually gets it. That's ridiculous. There should have been no way that they were able to win that round. I was even saying it. Like, it was a great take from GODSENT, but I think they were caught by that retake. It was so late into the round.
Reeds being able to put in the work, too, for the team made a huge difference right there. Because even when he swiveled over to the side, that could have been a very dangerous situation, and the trade wouldn't have been enough for them to secure that. But in the end, Illuminar put it onto the board, so it's tied up 1-1. Still holding on to a couple scouts for themselves, Galil, some M4s, and on GODSENT side, they're looking a little thrifty in their purchases.
I'm blown away by that retake from Illuminar. To go for it so late, I wonder if they even retrieved the kit at the end, or maybe it was already there onto Oscarish. But yeah, that has given them a huge lifeline in the early stages of this map. Of course, they are on the CT side, the favored side of the two. At the same time, though, there has been a full investment from GODSENT, and they've already got ramp control. But CT side have already rotated 2 players down.
And they set up for GODSENT to try and enter here. Ramp room's a very difficult place to make your move through, but as soon as they cleared out the CTs, then they're feeling much more confident. You still got to take it slowly, though. In the meantime, Illuminar with Mono as well as Oscarish set up over on that B site. And here from Heaven, some shots down. But the cover's been had and the plant has continued. GODSENT looking for another play, but Sticko, he got the frag, but is down to 3 HP. Innocent finishes off Crystal and is moving through with this very difficult take on the choke. 1 T standing behind Squeaky, but it's not enough. Zen and Madden answered by Innocent and Oscarish. Maybe try to get a frag. Unfortunately, the Deagle finds his Beagle, so in this, we find round number 2 for Illuminar.
Yeah, another solid retake coming out from them as well. That was, I think, a 5 versus 4 situation where they're just able to pick apart the offense. Of course, some weaker weaponry, but also some very good utility usage coming in from Illuminar. And now the Ts are actually just going to opt to take that hit. They did the damage, at least over the last couple of rounds, made sure that there wasn't a massive amount of CT players surviving. And now the hope is in this round that they can get a kill or 2. That's all they really need.
Eagles for a couple on GODSENT. And Illuminar have set themselves up here. Reeds taken with the garage angle, but no scope on that. Finds it onto Madden. Another one over into Yard, gets a lot of sprinkling into that chest, and eventually the investment is worth it for the finish off. 2 frags in favor of Illuminar's side, make that 3. And GODSENT is just Makalele right here on top of Silo, shooting down with the Deagle, but taking plenty of fire in the process. There's the final bullet that ends his life, and Illuminar extend their lead.
Yeah, they managed to get a bit of an early resurgence, of course. As mentioned, though, the 2 kills, or 3 kills plus the bomb plant is going to mean that it's going to be a relatively decent buy coming out for GODSENT into this round. And, okay, there's a piece or 2 missing, a Galil in play and some utility gone, but they're still going to be able to put the pressure onto Illuminar here. And this will be the real test for the polls. Like, so far, they haven't actually had to face off against any real purchases.
That could be the big difference maker. Still utility available for both sides. Innocent keeping his eyes over on Squeaky. On top of red, Makalele goes. Can make you very vulnerable, but get some good sight to see if any CTs are hanging over, maybe on the outside of Heaven, into locker room. Grenade makes its way through, and Reeds also tries to rotate around for a tasty treat. Avoids the flash as well, and Mono and Reeds start to make their move on in. Another shot for him. And the Illuminar finding themselves in a favorable position once again. Sticko here over his eyes on the opposite of Mini. Some firepower into Garage, but it's a very difficult clutch situation indeed.
Yeah, I'd say it's impossible. Finally, he manages to put down Reitz, who's been the bane of the T's life in this round, just able to maneuver around their smokes and just kill basically everyone. Over the last couple of rounds, he has been the real problem for them, and he's someone I think that, well, at least when you're talking about just the players within this roster, like a lot of people will remember Innocent as like being sort of the main man to watch, but I think that he is someone that you have to highlight within this team. He's been very, very good since its creation, and I think it's one of the best rosters or best performances we've seen from him on a roster. So if he's performing well, especially with his current position of holding that outside spot, it's going to be tough for GODSENT to try and break back in. This round at least, just a few pistols, it looks like they're going to try and burst into this A site again.
Will the burst be successful? The burst is looking good for Operation Innocent, and GODSENT luckily able to get some for themselves off the back of that nade utility. But it is still just a deagle play for them. A nice shot over from the rafters, and he's looking to spray some more down into the A site. Continuation of the domination of Illuminar here in the first half, picking up their 5th round. And yes, it was against just the ill-equipped GODSENT once more, but considering this was off the back of when GODSENT were able to make some purchases, Illuminar proving that they can still stand strong in multiple situations really fares well for them going into the rest of the half.
Yeah, I still think that round in general is a relatively successful one, at least for the T side. You get 2 kills, you get a bomb plant. It brings in a much better buy for you. The AWP is going to be onto Makalele for the first time as well, which could be important, especially with how successful Reitz has been. If they can pick him off, I think it could turn the round. Like, considering he's currently on 12 kills, next person in the whole server's on 5. Like, it kind of says a lot. Like, Reitz has been running away with it in the early rounds. Stomp, though, you like to see it. Starting to get confident, getting a little bit aggressive with the AWP, wanting to try and find that opening pick, catching players as they rotate. It is going to be the outer take once again. This time the more standardized smokes, and they've got to be careful because Innocent is just waiting around that angle. Of course, if there's any gaps, you know that Reitz is going to try and capitalize off the back of it, but he won't be able to. However, Innocent, he gets the kill, he fades away, even has the Molotov, goes back for more and gets a second as well. Won't be anything more there as Makalele is not going to be able to trade, but that is massively successful. And there's that aggression once again. They've got 3 opening picks and no looking of a return.
Yeah, great movement displayed there, because that's the thing. You really have to just be able to get the shot reposition, get the shot reposition. And since he was able to connect, very effective for Illuminar. And now it's just Makalele and Zen. All the weight on their shoulders, still have the op, and it puts that pressure too of trying to hold on to your rifle going into the next round. And Innocent's taken to the lower angle. That finds success once again. 3 kills for him in this round before he goes down to the SG. Then moving into the site, but Mono is there lying in wait. 6 for the CT side. Illuminar continuing to feel pretty good, and going into this GODSENT also still having to figure out where exactly they're going to be making these purchases, because they've had a difficult time putting the money in the bank.
Yeah, I think they will have actually called a pause here, and I think it's needed. Like, so far, the last 3 rounds have been a 1v5, and then they finally get a kill. Like, that's, even for the T side of Nuke, that's unacceptable. Like, the way that they've just been dominated by, most of the time, individual players. Like, it's been Reitz over the last couple of rounds. This time it was Innocent, able to get 3 kills around Secret without a response. Like, that's madness. Like, you shouldn't be allowing that. Obviously, great play from him, but there needed to be a trade there for GODSENT. And that's something I was actually sort of saying positively in their favor, was they're very good at trades, but we haven't seen it so far. And that's actually how you get into these 4v4, 3v3 sort of positions. Also, they've got into afterplant spots now a couple of times and failed to hold on to the round. So GODSENT, maybe they're the ones off to the slow start in this tournament. We said that it can happen to Crazy. Seems like GODSENT are struggling. And while I think that was Madden alone with a rifle, pushing out with no smoke,
Like, Stomp finds one too with the op, and Reitz is there to follow up as well. Looked like GODSENT was going to maybe try and offset some of that slowness with an aggressive push in. But nonetheless, Illuminar are still being able to respond so quickly to the plays that they're making. Zen, last one here, only working with Neck 10. Stomp with the P250. 7 onto the board for Illuminar. Yeah, just as you said, okay, sure, you expect there to be a bit more favor going over to the CT side, but you do not want to see it spread this effectively, especially when early on GODSENT seemed like they were having some of their plans that looked like they were going to work out, but then in the duels and the firepower, it's just not really able to execute.
Well, yeah, they currently have 2 players on 1 kill, which Crystal, at least the previous event, was one of their top fraggers and one of the best performers throughout the tournament, even though that's not necessarily expected. And Madden's meant to be the sort of younger gun, the person we don't know that's meant to be a little bit crazy. He's been achieving absolutely nothing so far in this map as well. So Illuminar have done a very good job of shutting down any of this aggression, winning a lot of opening duels, and because of that, GODSENT have no response at the moment. Of course, they have now taken a pause, falling more into a bit of a default round, which I think we haven't seen too much of. It's mainly been just like all-out strategy, smoke setups outside, so maybe this will be what works for them, giving Makalele a little bit more time and space to try and work the pigs, but they don't check the corner. A complete change-up in strategy out from the CT side, and again, it's absolute dominance.
Feels like it's looking bad. Man, Illuminar get another one for themselves. And yeah, GODSENT moving into that ramp area can be so difficult because of the corners you have to check, and the slight difference in positioning from Reeds was enough to throw them off. So they send 2 in, just get taken out immediately. And you would think that in that default situation, it gives you more breadth to start focusing on landing your shots. You're not having to think so much about these kind of out there strategies. But then when even that is falling through, puts you in a very difficult mental state.
Well, yeah, I think you can even just look at like simple things, like just picks in general. There are 3 players with only 2 deaths currently on the CT side. One of the players who has 4 deaths has 16 kills. So that alone is statistically insane in round number 9. Now you just got pistols once again, and even in anti-eco rounds, it is looking so easy for Illuminar. They don't even look like they're trying. They took 11 HP damage in the whole round.
Jeez. And then you see Mono just sitting over there by headshot. They move in again. And I feel like if you keep constantly getting hit up in ramp room like this, it's happened multiple rounds now. Different people, different positioning, sure, but at least needing to put something in your brain that says maybe this is where we're going to be finding a lot of difficulty and not able to actually execute anything off of it.
Yeah, the unfortunate problem is so far nothing has worked.
Yeah.
Like, they've literally just won the pistol. Like, that is it. It's 9 rounds in a row for Illuminar. Like, it's been a crazy performance from them so far, and I think that we're really starting to see GODSENT struggle. You can see how vocal Devil Walk was in that situation. And, I was about to say, they've been so successful in nearly all of their aggression, but now finally a pick goes one way, an attempted trade from Reeds meets the same fate. And finally, for the first time in a long time, GODSENT have an advantage.
Illuminar have been able to make so much happen after getting those opening frags, so maybe because GODSENT are off to a better start in the first minute within this round, then they can evolve it into something more. Especially, well, there you go. Oscarish takes out Sticko. But Makalele does have the off again. Got one right. What? Oscarish with the double up to finish that off, and now it's the 1v2. Mono still standing. So luckily for GODSENT, they were able to get somewhat of that answer. But 44 HP for Zen, 2 frags to his name. Mono's moving directly onto the site, knows the bomb's been planted, and the smoke is making it difficult. Moving to the side, he's gonna find some kind of trouble over on the right side. But luckily for him, he completely controls that. 1v1, Mono and Zen. Mono E-Mono in this case, and it's another one. Mono, in that round, really putting in the work for his team.
Was that a fight? That was a 5v3, 4v2? Like, I genuinely don't know how they get out of that and manage to win the round. Like, the double headshot that came in just in a matter of seconds. I think that was Oscarish gets 3 kills on the site. That turned the round on its head, but even still, the fact that then dwindled into an advantage for GODSENT again and they still lose, I don't know if there's any resurgence from them at this point.
That's the difficulty. GODSENT get the first 2 frags of the round, and you would think with the skill that they have, they could try and evolve that into something. But now you've lost even more confidence going into round number 12. 1-10 on the scoreboard. You've got SGs and AKs for GODSENT, but a little limited in utility. Sticko picks it up onto Mono and punishes him for the misdeeds of the last round, and Madden also gets a wall bang for himself. Innocent and Stomp starting to pick it up. 3v3. Crystal stinked up a tad, but it doesn't matter. Shot still in perfect form before Oskarish gets the revenge.
This is going to come down to timing. Wrap around the corner from Zen, and once again, we're going to have a 1 versus 2 situation. This is one that Stomp should not be able to win. Of course, they've got such a ludicrous amount of money over on that CT side that no doubt he's going to go for this. Mono literally has $16,000 in the bank, so...
No need to be cheap here. Might as well try and find something else of it. He's worked his way towards heaven, and over on Vent's side, there was a T waiting, so Makalele is able to finish it off, and this will be the second round of the half for GODSENT, but coming way far after their first.
10 rounds, the exact amount that Illuminar have. It's been the Polish side just absolutely destroying them. And yeah, I honestly thought this was going to be another 5v3 that GODSENT let slip, but a couple of kills coming up for Zen, who is the top fragger for his team, but that's not really saying too much at this point of the map. Of course, if they can grind back to 5, even maybe 4, it's not out of the possibility that they could turn this back on the CT side, but Illuminar have looked so good, even just on an individual basis, that I think this is going to be tough, and GODSENT really need to kick it up again.
If it was just coming down to the strategy, then yeah, I think you could say GODSENT have the potential to come and really run it through in the second half. But so many people on Illuminar, just as you said, are really popping off and showing that they can take into these clutch situations very effectively. And that's the kind of thing that will continue on into the second half as well, unless GODSENT have something to say about it.
At least in this round, they've slowed things down again. Started to catch out some of the aggression that's come out from Illuminar. We've seen Reitz over the last few rounds have very little impact because he's been going for those same picks, and it seems like GODSENT have finally wised up to his position. Same with Stomp, actually. Been pushing so aggressively that we've seen GODSENT slow down. The problem is this time they're not going to push. They'll just wait patiently, and they burn down the clock to the point where GODSENT have to make a move, and Stomp has just ruined them. Again, we're going to see the first 4 kills of a round go the way of Illuminar. Crystal, he's not even looking the right way.
GODSENT just, you've got to think at this point, it's really starting to wear on you. Because then when the timing also comes through, those situations that you can't control, then put more pressure rather on the situations that you can. And you feel just the breath and the weight of that more and more. Round number 14, Illuminar up 11-2. GODSENT did decide to slow things down during the last round and are going for a completely different strat this time, throwing the utility through Squeaky as expected to pop this off through Hut. And Illuminar still focusing, having Mono this time over on the ramp play. They've kind of been rotating somewhat on who they have standing over that way. Oskarish on the A site attempts to get the spray, but Madden a little quicker on that clip. But Innocent is rotated through, finds Mini and clears it off, but there's been a molly thrown right behind him. So Innocent and Reed starting to get those treats once again as a 3v3 ensues. Mono moving over from heaven, and he's got some support as well for if GODSENT try to make any movement to the outside, but the bomb's been planted. It can be a difficult place to retake, but the numbers are even for both.
Yeah, I think the weaponry that's been picked up by GODSENT gives them at least a chance. The smoke timing is perfect as well, as there's going to have to be a risk taken now. Stomp is the only man that is coming from heaven, and as they run through, the T's are ready and waiting for them. Reed's left alone, but he's found 2 kills quickly. It's left all onto Zen. He could just hold it. He's just going to try and stick the defuse, knowing that Zen is coming. He had to go for the peak, but times it well, and Zen's going to clutch it out. Finally, we see a big play come up from this man.
A little off with the cross right there, and Zen manages to come out victorious. So GODSENT, at least now with 3 rounds on the board, and you were saying that if they can get kind of to that 4 mark, it could be enough for them to maybe?
It's possible. It's possible. I think, like, you go in with, like, because there was a genuine chance that they ended up with 1 or 2. I think it's done. Like, I think for them to come back from that, they get to 4, they get a pistol round, and what, you're looking at an 11-7 scoreline? Yeah, they can bring that back.
But the difficulty now is some of them are still a little short on the equipment they're bringing to the table. Innocent's taken over the rafters this time with someone also planted on top of Hut. More of a prioritization over on A for these past couple of rounds. There's the shot over with the angle from Mini, and Madden ends up finding it. Still everybody sitting up for GODSENT though. Sticko and Madden both brought down nearly to single digits for both of them, but you managed to get a frag in the process. Stomp also takes a hefty chunk out of his own HP this time being.
We've still seen a couple of these rounds slip away. Crystal having a bit of a battle down below and has done a decent amount of damage to Reese, but he's more of a fake by the looks of things. The T's still waiting on that upper portion, and they found Innocent. That should be the one kill that sets this round up. Stomp going to attempt to be the hero, rotating back in, and, well, he's the only one left.
Too many T's for him to try and take all of them out for this time. Does luckily end up popping Madden. But you notice that Crystal's also here on the outside to try and clear Stomp out of that area. It's very obvious that he's here in heaven and drops down to hell. And that is going to be a nice Godsent victory here with the 4th round for themselves. Finishing it off nicely. But that's going to be the first half, everybody. Soon enough, we'll be getting into the second half, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to the DreamHack Open here in Sevilla, Spain. We're still going strong, but going even stronger than us is Illuminar with the 11-4 finish after the first half. We'll have to see if Godsent can try and turn things around now that they've taken to the CTs.
Yeah, it is that classic situation where they let the last few rounds slip, and that gives a little bit of a lifeline to GODSENT. I do think that they adapted their strategy, although it did come a little bit too late into the half with such a dominant side coming out from Illuminar. A pistol win here should pretty much put the game to bed for the Poles. Zen, timing is going to be everything. There's someone focused on his position and gets dinked up instantly.
A cluster of T's that were waiting for him right at the top of those steps. Knew somebody had to be creeping over in secret. Luckily, though, for GODSENT, nobody gets taken out completely. 7 HP is still enough for you to try and get some kind of frag. Crystal's working with the dualies here through Squeaky, and it's enough to take down Oscarish. GODSENT off to a slightly better start than they have been in the past. Now outnumbering the opposition, but here's more action coming from the back stomp, and Innocent putting in the work with the pistols. The 3v4 continues.
They're starting to just take names. It's only Crystal left. It has to be a dual Beretta clutch, and I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've ever said that in my career as a commentator, mainly because nobody really uses these weapons too often, especially when it comes to the range game. Up close, he can spam, but there's so many angles to check. As you can see, he just tried to switch between the two, and without a kit, the time is ticking away for Crystal to make his move, running forward and not going to be able to do anything here. Would have been one of the greatest clutches we've ever seen. Of course, as said, there's a reason we don't see these guns too often.
Hey, at least you got one frag, right, though? If you're going to bring out the dualies, then you got to make something work with it. In the end, though, not enough. So Illuminar 12-4 at this point in time. Picking up the pistol round for themselves, GODSENT now are going to be in a difficult position. Working with the Scout, a CZ, even a couple deagles across the way. Different rotation coming from Illuminar this time, though. Rotating from the inside. Utility starts to make its way directly onto the site. But Illuminar are playing the patient game here. They know that they have been keeping a hold of this entire map throughout round by round, so there's no reason for them to get super crazy with any of their choices and lose that momentum.
Yeah, just gonna be patient in this scenario. There's a decent amount of utility for GODSENT actually to try and use his stopping power, but ultimately the weaponry is still quite far down in terms of their opposition. Only a singular scout, no rifles, and mostly pistols, as they are gonna make their way in towards this A site, but still taking their time, making sure they clear a lot of these angles. Then he's gonna drop one of the guns to the floor. Flashbang gonna go over, but he does get burnt off a little bit late with that Molotov. Even still, the trade starting to come in. Zen once again, he gets another.
The change up of the angle is enough for him to stay alive and get 3 to his name so far. Innocent, though, right in the vents, finding Makalele, and Maiden also trying to put in the work for the CT side, but the bomb has made its way over to the B site, gets planted, and now it's the 2v1. Innocent brought down to 2 HP. Knows that someone's gonna be creeping through the door. The shots come through the wall, and there you have it. This is gonna be a defuse for GODSENT as they get round number 5.
I feel so bad for Makalele. I feel so bad. Like, he was setting up a grenade, not expecting anybody to jump down the vent, and then he just gets almost Goomba stomped just waiting on the other side and then shot in the face. Like, a little bit unlucky, but luckily for his teammates, they are able to pick up the slack. An important force buy victory. They don't win the pistol, but winning that round is going to be hugely beneficial. And for the T's, they get a bomb plant, but it's not going to be a particularly good buy if they do go for one. So by the looks of it, it's just going to be a small investment into some pistols. They've got a lot of rounds to play with, so they don't have to take any major risks here. And for the CT side, they're coming in with 2 SGs and quite a lot of utility, so it's not really worth the risk for Illuminar.
They can pick up a bit more cash. Madden sure is looking to do so with that M4 putting in the work. There you have it, 3 frags for him, and that's going to be a really quick round for GODSENT to follow off, which makes sense, and they're bringing it to 6, so maybe feeling a bit of themselves a bit more, try and make something happen off of this. Even when you are expected to be able to perform in the round, sometimes you need those, just mentally speaking, to try and push forward for when it's a bit more even-keeled.
Yeah, I think a good confidence booster for Madden as well, who has started to wake up a little bit over the last few, which I do think is going to be important. As I said, he can be a bit of a loose cannon, a bit hit and miss, so if he can start to step up, that's definitely going to be good for the team. Of course, we now get rifles, but rifles with limited utility. They've used all of their smokes just to get the cross, and a couple of flashbangs and a Molotov is all that remains for Illuminar going into some sort of take, and it almost looks like they've used those smokes at a bit of a fake in themselves, as the rest of the players are still waiting towards the upper bomb site.
A lot of utility used for the fake when, in reality, GODSENT are just positioned elsewhere for the play that's actually being waited to be made. But everyone's still in full force. Innocent's the only one to take some damage so far as Oscarish rotates over from Trophy Room. Last time around, when we saw Illuminar guarding off in Ramp Room, they had so much success with it. But Reeds, he had 21 frags going into this round and looks to be continuing to climb with that number in the top of this server. Another one with the AK. There's the attempt from Heaven, but it's not enough. GODSENT are losing 1 by 1, and now it's just Zen who's hanging over on the B site, knowing darn well there's a lot of action going over on A.
Yeah, Reeds is absolutely killing it, and that's a tough thing to do. Like,
go into everybody.
Go into the second half and just have such a ridiculous performance. Like, this is going to be what, excluding getting the pistol, their first round onto the board, and he gets 3 entries into the A site and doesn't even get close to dying. Like, that is a tough thing to do. Good support, of course. The utility usage will help him out, but it seems like they're setting up their star player in this map at the moment. And for the CT side, if they keep the gun, it's not too much of an issue, but money's still not going to be good. Loss bonus hasn't built up, so it's not like they've just lost a few in a row and they'll have cash. So now they're going to be left in a situation of, okay, do we even force? Do we take the risk to try and get ourselves back into the game early? Or are we going to take another hit and allow our opponents to get to 14?
Yeah, that's a tough spot. You don't want to get to map point too quickly. And looking at the way that Reeds has been able to play, he does make it look so easy because, as you're saying, the support from the rest of the team. When they're doing a great way of just laying out that entry and feeding the information to him, then he's just much more equipped to be able to get those opening frags.
Well, it seems the CT side have taken the risk. It's a catch-22. Like, there's no correct thing to do in this scenario, or no wrong thing to do, I think is a better way of putting it. Like, either you force buy, you take the risk, you get an extra chance of the round, or you wait, you get a slightly better buy into the next one, and then if you lose that, you're out. Like, either way, it's a horrible scenario to be in. They come in with a weaker buy, but there's a few pieces to it that could definitely help them out, like a few rifles across the board, still a bit of utility available to them, and a couple of kits as well.
Illuminar once again trying to use the utility to throw fake over towards Secret, but the rest of the team is lying in wait. GODSENT still full force on the CT side, so they do have the man advantage and know exactly where Illuminar should be attempting to play from.
The clock's starting to tick a little bit now, 45 seconds. The longer it goes, the more chance you see GODSENT of actually being able to steal this round away. They get an extra member to their 5 in terms of the time. They're going to fake it out and try and make their way into the ramp where Sticker is waiting, but he spotted the information. He can now call for the rotation, and this take just got a little bit tougher.
Can he try and buy as much time as possible when he's sitting over in dark? That's really what you got to do. Make Illuminar try to work to find it, and luckily Zen was able to find Oscarish, so now it's just the 3 Ts that are making their way into here. Only 10 seconds on the clock too, so Stomp is making himself right onto the site, which leaves him wide and open for Sticko, who is waiting long enough over in Dark for the triple frag, and that's GODSENT picking up their 7th round. He really did a great job of just waiting it out, not giving away too much information, and then as soon as that bomb play happened, was there for the answer.
Yeah, I think you could see plays like this from Sticko every single day. Like, he is so intelligent with his movement. He knows when it's important to stay alive and not just give up that frag. He could have easily fought the ramp there. Like, that's a thing that a lot of players would have done, gone from a kill and then trade. He just goes, nope, you know what, there's 30 seconds. I'll fall back straight away, make sure that I'm ready on the site. And even Zen as well. Like, Zen comes very close to dying in the early duels. He ends up getting 2 kills, 1 on outside and 1 as they first come into the site, slowing them down. So they've got those intelligent players. They've started to build into things. Weaponry now not going to be available again for Illuminar. And we're starting to get into the realm of opportunity for GODSENT. Like, they're definitely not back into this just yet. They've got to grind out a lot of rounds, but it's definitely not impossible from here for them to turn this back.
As we saw during the first half, Illuminar were able to take some of the rounds that wouldn't have worked for them, so GODSENT need to make sure that they connect in all those ways. Teams start to move into here. Makalele picks one up, and it's all on Crystal right now. Oscarish, last one to fall, 4 for Crystal, in conjunction with the Makalele frag that he had gotten. So GODSENT do manage to go ahead and get a bit more security for themselves.
So Crystal got 4 kills in this round. In the previous 20 rounds, he got 3.
Oh,
so definitely good to see him have a little bit of a step up, maybe a confidence booster for the in-game leader. And like we've said it before, he's not necessarily expected to frag crazy, but over the last couple of tournaments that they played, he has been performing very well. So important for him to get back onto the scoreboard, especially with the fact that he's playing a fairly aggressive role over towards the doors and an integral role, in fact, on that A site, especially when you see a lot of burst plays in that direction. But yeah, he's now woken up a little bit. I feel like some of the stuff that we've been seeing Illuminar get away with has started to fail. Like, for example, Reed's just getting triple entries into that site. So we now need to see a little bit more depth from them. Like, smoke, outer takes, looking for those picks on outside, maybe putting some more pressure on Zen, who has actually started to catch up on the board. He's now on 19 kills.
Illuminar working with the rifles, but lacking on some helmets, and that's what's going to have Innocent go down to Makalele here with that stolen AK. Holding there in locker room and able to move easily up to heaven if need be. But Illuminar with 4, looking to see what kind of play they can make. A little bit of a split for themselves, but GODSENT should have the easier rotation. Stomp gets the double with that SG after Madden was able to pick one up. 3v3 ensues. Makalele dropped to 1 before he's finally taken down with the vehicle. There goes another one for the CT side. And Illuminar are looking in pretty good form to try and get this play rolling.
Sticko left. 1 versus 3 clutch, just hoping that there's someone hiding behind the door, and unfortunately for him, there isn't. And even going to get caught out reloading at the end. Stomp gets that timing absolutely perfect, and Illuminar get their 14th onto the board. Definitely doesn't look like a happy, smiley Sticko at this moment in time, and the CT side economy is going to be a little bit, well, rubbish. I think that's the best way to put it. They've got a couple of players with at least a reasonable amount of cash, but there's still going to be some pieces missing. And if the T's manage to win this round, hey, that should be map done.
And it's definitely a possibility. Kriegs and AKs across for them, and plenty of utility and armor to boot. GODSENT are working with the double op setup once again. They haven't done this for a few rounds at this point, especially because it's taken a bit for them to get some money in the bank. And luckily, Sticko on that was able to pick one up. Positioning this in their favor, but can't exactly move into the site just yet. So we'll finally start to see some of that utility potentially come down, whether they're going for a fake to try and open up their sites on A is when they've been playing towards more recently. The smokes do go down in yard, but it doesn't look like they're going to be committing to it. And Opper is lying in wait to punish them for the misdeeds. Innocent wants to peek, but Makalele has got his eye on that angle, so it's through many that the T's go. Firepower ensues. Stomp and Innocent cracking open this fight, 3v3. And GODSENT, it's all on Zen. But that's just very difficult. Illuminar looking pretty well positioned to get this plan and try and secure another round for themselves. So it's 15, and they're making it over to map point.
Yeah, they did really well to wrap back into the site. They got past the smoke as well, and you could see, I think it was Madden was completely caught off guard. Zen shaking his head. It's not looking like a good vibe within the GODSENT camp at the moment, as we now sit 15-8. Pistols is all they're going to be able to buy into this round, and, well, that's it. If they lose that round, it should be done. It's going to come down to the mistakes of Illuminar if they don't manage to take this over the line.
And when I see that much head shaking going into the potential last round, I'm not feeling pretty good about the team that's going to potentially be out at this point. 8-15 on the scoreboard, and Illuminar do have much more of an advantage in what they're equipped with going into this.
See some aggression coming out from the CT side. It's kind of expected. Makalele going to be forced into the hands of Reitz, who gets his 26th kill of the match. He has been one of the star performers for Illuminar so far, although the last couple of rounds we've seen different players step up. They're just waiting for the aggression to come out from this CT side. They know they have a weak buy. They know that the money's not there, so risks have to be taken by GODSENT. And so far, those risks have failed.
If the confidence is there, it's hard to match it with the aggression. Despite the Deagle being there for Sticko, there's only so much that you can do. Zen pops out over in Secret, but everybody is looking in his direction. Illuminar got Stomp on there on the op, and he loves that op indeed. Sticko starting to back off. Crystal falls on the wayside. Everybody's up for Illuminar here too, so at this point, they're not even having to try to go for the play. They just want to go for the clear. Zen picks it up with the Deagle, but is found out by Ostrich. So it's a lonely Sticko trying to make this play. Can he get a frag before he eventually falls? The reload happens, and Illuminar take the round and the ultimate victory, securing their spot to move on from this. And my, oh my, GODSENT didn't look like they were happy in those last few rounds, and I'm sure even more so at this point.
Yeah, I think it still mostly comes down to their T-side half. They really struggled to get off to a start, and when they finally realized that they needed to try and counter the aggression that was coming in from Illuminar, they actually get, like, what, 3 of the last 4 rounds that came in, but it was kind of too little too late. Then the early backwards and forwards where the Ts eventually came out on top sort of set them up nicely to just take things over the line.
Yeah, if you look at the way Illuminar was able to crack open that second half, taking the pistol round, and with that oppression that they really offered over onto GODSENT at that point, it made it so difficult not just to bounce back, mentally speaking, but having such a dent in your economy when you're already on the outs in terms of the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think that made things just ridiculously difficult for them in general. Like, they never really had the proper 4-buys going into their CT half, and because they were so far behind, they just had to continuously force buy to the point where basically they were already out of the map.
And I guess there's a reason then that Illuminar were so favored by the audience.
Twitch,
I know the desk, though, was leaning more towards GODSENT, so I want to know how you are all feeling, knowing that you're just so wrong.
We are totally eating our words up here. Thank you very much for reminding that of us, Gabby. What an impressive performance there from Illuminar. We totally didn't expect them to come out that fast, did we?
Yeah, they look so very good. That CD side, I like the way they played it. It wasn't like, they knew they were underdogs. They knew they were slight underdogs compared to GODSENT. It was pure aggression all across the board, especially on the CD side. Look at the number of kills they were getting, like pushing in towards the lobby, pushing hot. They never, ever allowed GODSENT to feel comfortable. And I think it was like an 8-1 or 9-1 lead initially, and after that, yeah, they got a few rounds here and there, but they never put their foot off the pedal. The pistol round, for example, looked so good, and they just looked like the better team, all things considered. And we were talking about the players as well. Look at Riaz, he had over 100 ADR. It was wild. It was very impressive.
Yeah, Riaz was looking incredible. I mean, I just made a note. In the first 9 rounds, he had 16 kills, and he was looking unbelievable. He was a player we kind of highlighted as a potential upset, but yeah, he really showed everything.
Exactly, and I mean, it all started off with that second round force buy, right? I mean, these guys were able to string together 10 rounds in a row, and I think the caster said it perfectly, just that oppression towards that outside and inner yard. And man, yeah, I really appreciated the fact, as you said, Illuminar identifying early on that they are the underdogs coming into this matchup. And when you saw each member of the Illuminar side, anytime they went through that connector, anytime they were coming out that hut, man by man, teammate together, wolf pack, they always were grouped together, always setting each other up for that potential trade, and always maximizing their duels, maximizing these contact plays to make sure that they are always going to come out on top. I really appreciated their specifically T-side approach.
Well, we have got our winners standing by. We have got Innocent down on the floor to have a chat to. First of all, massive congratulations to the team. How are you feeling after that win?
Thank you. We feel good. We actually expected the win after we saw that it's Nuke. And yeah, we executed our game plan completely. We checked their demos and they were doing like exact same things that we were like prepared for. So it was just all according to the plan, and all we actually required to win was to hit our shots, and it was decent. So yeah, we won.
On that city side, we saw a lot of aggression from you guys, especially towards lobby, towards outer, right? Was that the game plan you had in mind there? Were you just trying to make them feel very uncomfortable?
Yeah, we sort of seen that they are starting the game in one way, and there is like two ways that they are changing their game plan, and it's like either they win, they change for something else, and if they lose, they change for like other thing. So we knew that if they will be losing, then we will like have one way to counter them, and then we just executed it, and it worked perfectly. We threw, I don't know, like every round we threw nades on Crystal for like 90 HP, and then we know that we switch into position, so we throw them in the different spot, and he was still getting the damage. So it was like pure game plan, and it just worked perfectly.
It did work out perfectly. You mentioned your game plan. I'm wondering, we didn't get to see very much of your T side on that nuke, but I really liked and appreciated your guys' inner split towards that connector, putting a lot of pressure outside and just slowly walking in towards that connector, having your door guy molly out that opposite vent. Is this a game plan specific for GODSENT, or is this your guys' comfort default?
Actually, that round I'm pretty sure it was just made out during the round. So we kind of like got the information where they are standing and what utility and what weapons they have. So we just like made that round out like during the round.
Nice. Well, massive congratulations to you once again, Isn't. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and we'll be seeing you later today in our winners matchup. But I think we've got a little bit more to break down from that, because obviously GODSENT, they were the ones that we were favoring. What do you think went so wrong for them?
I think we did touch upon a point that looking into both the map videos we've seen so far today in both the games were kind of predictable, right? Like I assume it was going to be Nuke, it was going to be Nuke, and they said they had a game plan in mind, and I'm expecting them to go for the anti-strat. I saw, like, we spoke about as movie star writers earlier as well, that they should have a game plan, a counter plan for their opponents were crazy. They didn't have it, but this time around they had such a good game plan. The aggression, it never felt like GODSENT felt very comfortable on it. And that's what happens when you have the preparation, when you have the protocols right, and like Potter mentioned, the trade game was so damn good, so very good. And for GODSENT, and the retakes 4v4s, they were just falling by the wayside. There were no trades taking place. Plays like, it's a 2v2, bombsman towards upper. You have a player towards mini, and you have a player coming up from ramp. Why is the mini guy just pushing in all by his alone? So why are you not waiting for your teammate? These are like so many miscommunications, timing was off. It just didn't look like the GODSENT that we're used to seeing.
Exactly, and I think the last round of that match kind of perfectly illustrated exactly how kind of flustered GODSENT were. The desperation plays, we saw the double op coming out on CT side nuke, and generally, yeah, okay, you can send an op towards ramp, you can have that op outside, have a nice strong defensive formation, but both the ops were outside. We had Seiko towards the secret stairs, and we had Michaelelli towards the CT blue box, and both ops were holding that outside yard, but either way, they were able to walk their way into connectors. So these kinds of desperate plays, pulling out the double op, both oppers watching the same area, but letting them come forward. These are kind of mixed signals, I think.
Yeah, it felt a little gimmicky. I really wouldn't blame them for trying something a little bit different, but when you're down like, what, 11-4 or 10-5 in the first half, and then you're just struggling, you lose the pistol round as well, yeah, I think they're just clutching at straws, and even if they'd won that round, I don't think it would have been sustainable for the remainder of the game.
Yeah. Well, Illuminar have certainly proved their dominance in their first matchup of the day. We'll be back after this short break with our next matchup, North versus Big. Don't go anywhere.
Charge up your game with excitement. Highest odds on the market. Coverage of all live and pre-match events. Place your bets with Solid Bookmaker and win with your favorite teams. Take what's rightfully yours with GGBet.
Hi, my name is D1 Ala Mangret.
Hi, my name is Sue Lee. My handle is Smix.
My name is Jordan Gilbert, aka Nothing.
My name is Bill Carter. My handle is Jump.
My name is Christopher Michaels, better known as Monte Cristo.
Hey guys, I'm Michelle Morrow, and I'm on-camera talent for both esports and the world of entertainment.
I think it's important that people are made aware that their behavior is not acceptable if you're going to throw out bigoted terms or target somebody for that kind of harassment.
So dealing with toxicity, even just on a normal day-to-day basis, when I game, I just like to be sort of an anonymous gamer, and to this day, I am scared to use my mic.
I think that anytime you can sit someone down that has a negative mindset or has a sense of toxicity, think about who you're affecting.
If I had the ability to confront a troll face-to-face, they would not be the keyboard warrior that they are inside of the game.
The GLHF pledge is super important. Anything that's encouraging people to promote positivity, to promote understanding, to promote sympathy.
It's cool to see that people are going above and beyond to be a voice for those from a community that may not be as well represented in gaming. You do matter.
GLHF.
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 Good luck. Have fun.
happy that Santa's on his way. Been waiting all year long for Christmas Day. I feel alive when I look up to the sky, knowing I might see him on his sleigh. Soon I will see lots of presents by the tree, and think of all the joy that's on its way. I dream of Santa's long white beard and reindeer flying through the air. I know it's almost time for Christmas Day. I know it's almost time for Christmas Day.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above thy deep and dreamless sleep. The silent stars go by, yet in thy dark streets shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee
You know it's driving me crazy, just being away from you. It's getting colder and baby, I don't want no winter blues. Yeah, I know we've been here before. You've been all alone when the first snow falls. This time I'm telling you, I'll be there for Christmas. I'll be there for Christmas. I said I'll be there for Christmas. Yeah, baby. So cuddle up by the fire, 'cause I wanna be by your side. 'Cause girl, I'm missing your love and kissing. Ooh, taking me high. Get under the mistletoe when it starts to snow. Honey, I'm coming home. This time I promise you, I'll be there for Christmas. I'll be there for Christmas. I said I'll be there for Christmas. Baby, baby, I'll soon be on my way. Yeah, I'm coming your way. Maybe it's your ride on Santa's sleigh.
DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Monster Energy, Nice Cactus, and